Let's start with the prayers. Om Sada Shiva
Shiva-samarambham Shankaracharyamध्यamam Asmadacharyamadhyamam
Vande
Vande
Guru
Guru
Paramparam.
Paramparam
Saraswati
Saraswati
Namastuभ्यं
Namaste
Varaде
Kamarupini
Vyaramaham Karishyami Bhavatu me sada
Om Sahana
Sahana
Bhavatu
Bhavatu Sahanam Bhunaktu Sahaviryam
Sahaviryam
Karavavai
Karavavai
Janavaditamastu
Om Shanti 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 Vasudevendra Yogindram Atmajnana Gurum Mukhnamidaya Buddho Hidiyate.
Okay. So last class we were discussing about Maya, and we have just started the third chapter of Tattva Bodha, and we saw this line Brahmashraya Maya Asti. And this Maya is what? Trigunatmika. And what are those three gunas? Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So Brahmashraya Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. So there is a Maya, and that Maya is dependent on Brahman for its existence, and also it has three gunas Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So all this we saw in the last class, and we also saw some of the features of both and compared it with Brahman. So I hope you remember all this. Now, today we will see a little bit more about Maya. So this, what is on the screen, is a simple approach. Now we will go a little deeper. Okay. So this Maya, as we have discussed, is Savikaraha, ever changing, and Brahman is Nirvikaraha, changeless. Right? And this Maya is Jada, Maya is Mithya, Maya has three gunas, whereas Brahman is Satyam, it is without any gunas, without attributes, and it is a consciousness principle. Now, it is this Brahman Maya mixture that the world is born out of. Okay, the world is born out of the Brahman Maya mixture. So everything in the world is a combination of Atma plus Anatma. Atma is Brahman, Anatma is Maya. So everything in the world is this mixture, this combination of Brahman and Maya. So how does that work? So actually it is Maya that is the one that evolves into the universe, but in the presence of Brahman. Maya is the one that evolves to become universe, but in the presence or with the blessing of Brahman. So remember that Brahman is changeless. Brahman cannot change or cannot move, cannot do anything at all, right? Brahman is totally akarta. Brahman is nirvikaraha. Brahman cannot evolve or become the universe. So it is Maya that is the one that evolves. Maya is the changing principle. Maya is the one that evolves to become the universe. But remember that Maya cannot exist without Brahman. Right? Maya is dependently existent on Brahman. So Maya is the one that evolves, but Maya depends on Brahman for its existence. So without Maya, Brahman cannot evolve and become universe. And without Brahman, Maya cannot exist at all. Okay, so that is how these two are. This mixture is what gives rise to the universe. This is what evolves into the universe. So the example given is that of space. So you see, space supports everything. Space supports all of creation, right? Within space, everything exists. And yet, space remains unchanged, space remains unaffected. Anything can be happening. So in the world, we can have war happening, or we can have good things also happening, right? But space remains totally unaffected, unchanged. And only in the presence of space, all these things are able to happen. Can there be something that exists outside space? No. Even to exist, you require space, right? To be there, to exist. Everything occupies space, but space itself is never affected, never changes, never participates. Space is totally unblemished, unpolluted, no matter what is happening. But it supports everything else. Okay, same with light. Light is required for all the transactions in the world. If any transaction or any activity has to happen, we need light, right? But light itself remains unaffected. Light itself never participates in the activity. Okay. Now we'll see one more example of this Brahman and Maya to understand how they are. So think of a dancer. Okay. So there is a person and this person can dance. Now there is the person, the individual, and in that person there is the dancing potential, right? That dancing talent is there. Now, does this mean the person is a dancer all the time? No, the person is a dancer when the dance begins. But the rest of the time, the potential to dance is available, right? So, this person with the dancing potential begins the dance and is called dancer. Do you see? There are all different things. The person, the dancing potential, the dance itself, and what we call dancer. Different things. Now, this dancing potential, where is it? Can it exist independently?
No.
No.
Then how does it exist?
It exists in the dancer.
It exists dependent on the dancer, right? Suppose the dancer or the person, we will say. Okay, suppose the person is not there. Can the dancing potential exist by itself?
No.
No. So the dancing potential depends on this person to be existent. But does the person depend on the dancing potential?
No.
No. If the dancing potential is taken away, if that talent is taken away, the person still exists, right?
Yeah.
So the person exists independently, but the dancing talent depends on that person for its existence. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is it ever possible to separate the two? Can you ever say, you remove that dancing talent from this person, show me where it is? Is it possible?
No.
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 Right? That dancing talent is with that person. It's not really something different, right? It is very much with that person. Now, when the dance begins, this is interesting, okay? When the dance begins, the dancer is born. And can you separate the dance and the dancer?
No.
you separate that dancing person from the dance that is happening? If I say, you remove this person from the stage, but let the dance continue.
No,
Is that
Meda,
possible?
it's not possible. No, ma'am.
Possible, right?
No.
The dance is nothing but a manifestation of the dancer. The dance is just a manifestation of the dancer. The movements of the dancer is what we call dance, right?
Hmm.
Correct? Yes or
So,
no?
Medaji, can we say that the
No,
dance
wait,
is
wait,
a
wait, wait. Questions at
manifestation?
the end because there's a flow going on here. Just tell me if you're understanding. So, do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the dance is a manifestation of the dancer, right? The movement of the dancer is what we call dance, and you cannot really separate these two. Why I'm telling this is because the creator and the creation are not different. The creator and the creation are not different at all. And this is what is the relationship between Brahman, Maya, Ishvara, and the world. Okay? Brahman is like the person. Remember that all examples are limited, so just try to understand within the limited example that Brahman is like the person, the independent person. The dancing potential, the dancing talent is like Maya. Okay, that is, it dependently exists on the person. So Maya dependently exists on Brahman. Right? So the dancing talent dependently exists on the person. And when this dancing potential is invoked, when the dancing potential is activated, the dance begins. So in the same way, when this Maya evolves, it becomes Jagat, the creation, right? And this dancer is nothing but Ishvara. Remember that dancer is Ishvara. And what is Ishvara? Brahman plus Maya. Just like how the dancer is the person plus the active dancing potential, activated dancing potential. Both of these in combination is the dancer, right? That dancer is Ishvara. So if you are asked, what is the definition of Ishvara? The answer is Brahman plus Maya or Maya Sahita Brahman or even Saguna Brahman. All of these are correct understanding because this Maya Brahman mixture is what we are calling Ishvara. So the question is not who is Ishvara. The question is what is Ishvara? And the dance is nothing but the creation that we see around us. The whole universe that we see around us is the very dance. And remember, the dance and the dancer cannot be separated. The creation and the creator cannot be separated. So the world that you see around you is nothing but Ishvara, nothing but Brahman plus Maya. Okay? Yes. Now you can ask questions.
Vedhaji, so we can say another word for Ishvara is Jagat.
Yes. The Jagat is nothing but a manifestation of this Ishvara. Actually, the correct rephrasing of your statement should be, can we say another word for Jagat is Ishvara? Not Ishvara is Jagat. You should not reduce the higher entity into the lower thing, right?
Okay, thank you.
It's like, can we say that dance is this person? Not really, right? It's like the dance is nothing but a manifestation of the dancer. That is the correct phrasing.
So, Medaji, dancing talent is Maya and dancer is Ishvara, right?
Yes, the answer is Ishvara.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Vinita ji.
Om Midaji, you said Saguna Brahman because we are talking about it with the attributes of Maya.
Yes. When you say Saguna Brahman, automatically we are talking about the Brahman plus Maya mixture. Because Brahman, if you say Brahman, we are talking about Nirguna Brahman without the attributes.
Yes. Got it. Thank you.
Oh, Medhaji. So essentially, Ishwar is also an upadhi of the Brahman.
Ishvara is Mithya. The moment you say Maya, the moment you include Maya into any discussion, Mithya automatically applies. So what we call as Ishvara, it's definitely Mithya. Why? Because this Ishvara is also dependent on Brahman, right? For existence.
So essentially, it becomes another upadhi, right? Of the Brahman. A Virat roop of the, upadhi in the macrocosm.
Upadhi is different. We will see that later. You cannot say, you can say the world or these different, reflecting mediums become the Upadhi. But that mixture is Ishvara.
So, Medhaji, the Mithya is dependent entity, right?
Yes.
So, the Ishvara is dependent on Maya.
No.
Then Ishvara is dependent on.
Tell me. We've had lengthy discussions on this.
Brahman.
Ishvara is dependent on Brahman.
Brahman, obviously, everything is dependent on Brahman. Okay, that is your final ultimate answer. Yes. Okay, so is this understood? This example of the dancer, dancing potential. It's a very beautiful example and requires a lot of manana. The more you think about the relationship between these different things, the person, the dancing potential, the dancer, the more you think about how are these all related to each other, this concept of Brahman and Maya becomes more clear. So then you will not get confused about what is Maya. Maya, you can think of it like the dancing potential or the creative potential of Brahman. Remember that, but Brahman does not change at all. Brahman only supports Maya through its presence. That is all. Maya is the one that changes and evolves into the universe. Okay. So now we can see a little more about Maya. This is a verse from Viveka Chudamani, and a very beautiful verse talking about trying to understand Maya. Okay, so we can read this. Sannapya yubhayatmikano
Sannapyasannapyuभयात्मिकानो
भिन्नाप्यभिन्नाप्युभयात्मिकानो
भिन्नाप्यभिन्नाप्युभयात्मिकानो
सांगाप्यनाङ्गाह्युभयात्मिकानो
सांगाप्यनाप्युभयात्मिकानो
महाद्भुता निर्वचनीयरूपा We'll continue with the Maya discussion, and this is from Viveka Chudamani by Shankaracharya. Very beautiful, very profound verse, very analytical verse. on Maya. So here in this verse, Shankaracharya is raising a series of questions about what is Maya, how can we define Maya, and he's giving the answers to those questions. So he raises a total of 9 questions and answers those 9 questions in this 4 lines. Actually, the first 3 lines. So in these 3 lines, 9 questions. So the first line, Sannapya Sannapyubayatmikano. So when you break it, it becomes Sat na api, Asat na api, Ubayatmika no. So the first question that he is asking is this Maya Sat? He's asking, is Maya Sat? And he says, Sat na api. Maya is not Sat. Why is it not Sat? First of all, what is Sat? So you tell me, what is Sat?
That which is
That which-
independently
Trikale
existing.
Pitishthati.
Trikale api tishtati. That which is there in all the 3 time frames, that is called Sat. Now, for something to be called Sat, it cannot change. Okay, the moment a change occurs, it is the end of one thing and the creation of something else. Such a thing cannot be called as Sat. What is Sat? What is eternal? What is constantly existing? It has to be changeless in nature. Now this Maya, is it changeless?
No, constantly changing.
No, right?
Mhm.
Maya is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Moreover, the moment you say Maya is Sat, Maya becomes identical to Brahman. There's no difference between Maya and Brahman if both are Sat, right? Both will become the same. Then that is also a problem. We cannot have the same identical entity, the same changeless identical entity giving rise to this changing world. It does not work. And moreover, Shastra clearly says Ekam Sat, and that is Brahman. There is only one Sat Vastu, and that is Brahman. So we cannot say Maya is Sat. Maya is independently existent. We cannot say Maya is there in all the 3 time frames because it is a constantly changing entity. Okay. Then he asks the second question, Asat na api. This Maya, is it Asat? And he says, no, Maya cannot be Asat also. Here, what is the meaning of Asat? Asat means not existent, not there. So, is this Maya not there? No, because if something is not there, how can it have a product? Right? If we see this world around us, this world is a product of Maya. And the visible world cannot be a product of a non-existent cause. The cause has to be there to give rise to the effect. It is like saying the mother is not there, but the child is born. Mother doesn't exist, but the child is born. Is that a possible thing? No. If the child is there, that means mother is also there. Right? So in the same way, the cause has to be there if there is an effect. And the effect is very clearly visible to us. The world around us is the effect. So for this prapancha, the jagat that we see around us, the cause is Maya. So we cannot say Maya is not there. It is wrong to say Maya is asat. So then, is it ubayatmika, that is both sat and asat, a mixture of sat asat? Can that be possible? No. Why? Because that is like saying, is it light and dark here at the same time? Can something be light and dark?
No.
They are opposite. opposites, right? They are mutually exclusive. One precludes the other. If one is there, automatically it means the other is not there, right? Like the relationship between light and dark. So in the same way, Sat and Asat are opposites. So because they are opposites, you cannot say both are there or it is both at the same time. So even that is a wrong statement to say, that Ubhayatmika, that both it is Sat as well as Asat. You cannot say that. That is also a wrong statement. Then Bhinnapya Ubhayatmikano, that breaks into Bhinna na api, Abhinna na api, Ubhayatmika no. So now he's asking the question, is Maya Bhinna from Brahman? Bhinna means different. Is Maya different from Brahman? So the answer again is no, because if something is different from Brahman, it means it is separate from Brahman. That means you have limited Brahman through a separation. Brahman is supposed to be infinite, right? And in infinite Vastu, how can you ever exclude something from that? The moment you exclude, the infinite thing is no longer infinite, it becomes finite. So if you say Maya is different from Brahman, separate from Brahman, that means both automatically become finite. It is not possible that Brahman remains or retains its infinite status after a separation. So you cannot say Maya is separate or different from Brahman. That is also a wrong statement. Bhinna na api, it is not even separate. Then abhinna na api, can it be possible that this Maya is abhinna, non-different from Brahman? Or in other words, same as Brahman. Is it identical to Brahman? No, it cannot be the same as Brahman, because again, the same reason that we discussed before, that if they are identical, then it means Maya is the same as Brahman, which means Maya is not Jada, Maya has to be Chetana. Maya has to be a conscious entity, right? Maya also has to be a consciousness principle. It cannot be the same as Brahman and be Jada, right? So if Maya is consciousness, then how can that Chetana Vastu give rise to this Jada Prapancha? There is a rule that says that the features of the Karanam is available in the Karyam. That is, the features of the cause is available in the effect. The effect follows the cause, is what is said. It's the logical statement, one of the logics of Shastra. So that being the case, this Jada Prapancha that we see around us, the world around us is inert, right? So this Jada Prapancha, where did it get its Jada nature from? If the cause is not Jada, where did the Jada nature come from? It does not explain. So we cannot say Maya is abhinna, identical to Brahman. Then, is it ubhayatmika? Is it both bhinna and abhinna? Is it a bhinna abhinna mixture? No, because the same logic as before, they are totally opposite. They are mutually exclusive. If one is there, the other cannot be there. So that is why if it is bhinna, it cannot be abhinna. If it is abhinna, it cannot be bhinna. Both cannot be there in the same place at the same time. So this Maya cannot be both. It cannot be same as Brahman or different as Brahman. But at the same time, it is not same, not different, not both. Okay. So till now we have seen 6 questions. Is it Sat? No. Is it Asat? No. Is it both Sat Asat? No. Is it Bhinna, different? No. Is it abhinna, identical? No. Is it bhinna abhinna, together? No. So then what about the last three questions in the third line? Sa anga api. Sa anga means with parts. So can this Maya said to be with parts? So whenever we say something has parts, parts means it has some different components in it. Whenever there is something that comes with parts, it means that these parts have to be put together at some point of time, right? They have to join together. That is why there are parts. Like a car, the car has different parts and they are put together and then it is a car. So if Maya, if we say it has different parts, then the question will come, when were these parts put together? When was this assembly done? And the moment there is an assembly, it becomes a product. And every product has a date of birth and a date of expiry. And remember that Maya is anadi. Maya is without birth. If something is without birth, it cannot be an assembly. It cannot be a bunch of products put together. That means if they are put together, there is a date of birth. But this Maya does not have a date of birth. Moreover, when you put a bunch of things together and there is a date of birth, then it becomes a product. But remember, Maya is the causeless cause, the ultimate cause. It is the Karanam itself. It cannot be a product. So this Maya, if you say it is with parts, then we cannot say that it is Anadi. We cannot say that it is a cause because it has become with parts and therefore a product, therefore date of birth. But that is also not correct to say. So to say Maya is with parts is a wrong statement. Now that being said, can you say the opposite then, that na anga? Maya is without any parts. Maya has no parts at all. No, that is also an incorrect statement. Why? Because then how will you explain Sattva, Rajas and Tamas? If you say Maya doesn't have parts, we have three distinct attributes of Maya, three gunas of Maya, right? Distinct ones. They are different from each other. Sattva is different, Rajas is different, Tamas is different. So can we say that Maya has no parts? We say that, how to explain this Sattva, Rajas, Tamas? Again, we cannot make the statement Maya has no parts. Even that is an incorrect statement to make. Then what about Ubhayatmika? Both. Parts, no parts. Sa anga, na anga. Both. Again, for the same logic as before, their opposites cannot be there simultaneously. So that is also not possible. So the last three questions also we have raised and answered. Is Maya with parts? No. Is Maya without parts? No. Is it both with parts, without parts? No. So then every statement, every question now that we have tried to raise, we have not been able to answer. Every statement that we make about Maya is an incorrect statement. Right? We cannot say anything categorically. We cannot say anything conclusively. They are all wrong statements. And so that is why Shankaracharya says, Maha Adbhuta Anirvachaniya Rupa. This Maya is a Maha Adbhuta. Maha Adbhuta means a great wonder, great amazement. So the example given is of a magic show. When you go to see the magic show, what happens? On the stage, the magician does a lot of things and they seem contradictory and you cannot explain. Have you seen that magic trick where the lady gets inside a box and then he cuts the box in half with the lady inside? So he's cutting the lady in half with a very sharp knife and then what happens? Then the lady comes out of the box and nothing has happened and she is fine, right? So if you say, was the lady cut in half? Yes. Is the lady still alive? Yes. So it is a contradictory thing that your mind, your logic cannot grasp, cannot understand. But yet it is there. And so Maha Adbhuta, just like the feeling you get at a magic show. You can't explain, you didn't understand, and yet you're left with a sense of wonder, of amazement. So that is the same for Maya. We cannot explain, we cannot really understand, and yet the world is available here in front of us. Maya is available, and it is a sense of great wonder. And therefore, this Maya is anirvachaniya. Maya is anirvachaniya. It is beyond categorization. We cannot logically divide Maya. We cannot logically categorize it in any way. It is beyond the intellect. Whenever the intellect wants to understand something, we always divide and classify. We make it smaller and smaller. This is what is happening in science these days, right? First, it started as science. Then it became physics, biology, chemistry. Now there are so many branches of science. And within those branches, if you go one more level, they have further sub classifications. For example, you look at medicine. Now it is not enough to get an MBBS degree, right? You have to do MBBS, then you have to do one more degree, the MD degree. And after that, that is also not enough. You have to do a specialization. And then you have to do a super specialization. Dividing, going smaller, 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 trying to understand. That is how the intellect understands. That is how the intellect operates. We need to divide and classify in order for us to understand. But this Maya, as you saw, you cannot divide it in any way. You cannot classify it in any way. You cannot categorically say this and not that. As we saw, every statement we make about Maya is inadequate. It is a wrong statement. We cannot categorically put Maya into any box. And that is why Anirvachaniya, the meaning of Anirvachaniya is that which cannot be categorized. That which cannot be categorically said to be this or that. That which cannot be logically examined. Using logic, we have showed now that Maya is quite illogical. So through logic, we have shown that Maya is illogical. So then what to do with this Maya? We experience Maya, but Maya cannot be understood. We have to accept that Maya cannot be understood. It can only be experienced. Okay, so Maya, no matter how much we struggle, it is beyond understanding, beyond the intellect. So we have to accept that it is a Maha Adbhuta, it is Anirvachaniya. Okay? Yes. That was a heavy discussion. Now you can ask questions.
Meeraji, the third line, somehow I don't understand the breakage of the words and also the meaning. When we say what are sattva, rajas, tamas, can you please explain this line again?
The breakage is sa anga na api. Sa anga api. Okay, and then na anga. So he's asking, is it sa anga with parts or na anga without parts? And then he says, he ubhayatmika. So it is, it's a statement that indeed it is not even with parts, it is not even without parts. So when you say, so if you ask the question, does Maya have parts?
No, the first explanation was clear, because if it has parts, then that means that it was created and then it has a cause, but it doesn't have a cause. So that I understand.
But if you say, that the first statement says that Maya cannot have parts.
Hmm.
It is not Sa-anga.
Hmm.
Sa-anga means with parts, right? So it is not like a divided thing because of the anadi nature and the cause and all that.
Hmm.
So then can you say, okay, Maya doesn't have parts. It is a partless entity, divisionless entity. If you say that, then how will you explain Sattva, Rajas and Tamas? Are they not parts of Maya?
They are parts of Maya, or they are attributes of Maya?
Attributes, parts, they're all,
Okay.
to understand. They're distinct. That is the point.
Hmm.
We say attributes because Maya is not like a substantial thing that you hold, right? But Maya has three gunas. Are they not angas? The three angas of Maya?
In a way. Okay. Okay. In a way.
There's no other way to define them, right? The sattva,
Yeah.
rajas, tamas.
Right.
How else will you keep them in relation with Maya?
It's
You have to say
difficult to explain.
Maya has three parts, three gunas, three angas, which are called sattva, rajas, and tamas. But if you say they are with parts, then it contradicts the previous this thing, that sa-anga. If they are with parts, then when was the assembly done? When is it a product? Then is it still anadi? These things.
I think a good conclusion that you said was there, that with logic we can say that it is illogical, so we should not try to understand, we should just accept that it is, we can experience.
Yes, for Maya, we can only accept, but we
Cannot
cannot understand.
intellectualize it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Kartika.
Ma'am, this is for something older. You have always mentioned that if something is infinite, then you cannot have something else which does not belong to it, right? So if we go in terms of maths, if we say that there are infinite numbers, okay. Then there are infinite integers, okay. We can have infinite positive integers, and you can also have a negative integer which does not belong to the infinite group. So we can actually have elements which do not belong to infinity, right?
Maths, the concept of infinity is different from the concept of infinity in Vedanta. Okay. Maths, the concept of infinity is that which is beyond counting. You can't count that far, right? That is why it is called infinity. Too large to count. That is what becomes infinity. And that is why in maths, you can have infinity within infinities. You can have multiple infinities and all these things. But this is not the same infinity as Vedanta. Vedanta infinity is that which is not bound by space or time.
Okay, all pervading all the time. Okay.
Yes. Are numbers all pervading and beyond time and space?
I actually don't know the answer for that.
You tell me, numbers, you keep counting. Is it limited by time and space? When you
I
say
haven't
numbers, that itself is limited, no? Numbers is not words, numbers is not something else. Numbers are only numbers.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So the concept
And,
of infinities in maths is different. Sometimes we use it just for understanding sake, but they are not to be taken as the same thing.
Okay. Okay. And one more thing, you told that we will not be able to distinguish the creation from the creator, or we cannot distinguish. So, which means that if I swat a mosquito, I am actually creating harm for the creator.
If you swat a mosquito, you are causing harm to Ishvara, the creator or the creation, because creation and creator are not different. So yes.
But the very fact that we are alive or we continue to sustain implies we are harming so many other living organisms along the way, right? Knowingly, unknowingly.
Yes. It's a, even this destruction is a part of creation itself, right? Even the destruction is sustained by Ishvara, right?
Yes. Okay. So when you read mythology also, it looks like it is chronological. So there is creation and then eventually there's dissolution and again there is creation. But
Even
okay.
within creation, so many things keep happening. The coronavirus happened, for example. Was that not destruction for one species and propagation of another species?
Yes.
Yeah. So don't think of destruction as always a negative thing. We have this idea that we always want to put things in the good box or the bad box. But the good and bad are based simply on your likes and dislikes. First, you have to understand that. What we call it good is something that I like. What I call bad is something that I don't like. And that is why we think, oh, only good should be there in the world. No, it doesn't work that way. So that notion you examine, what you are calling good and bad, you do mananam on that.
Okay.
Yes, June?
Omedaji. So if ultimately, like we said, there is only Brahman and everything is like there is just one real thing. Why is it wrong to say that Brahman is the cause of Maya?
Brahman is not a cause. It cannot be a cause. The causation relationship does not exist. For two, three reasons. One, if you say Brahman and Maya are cause and effect, a separation exists. Whenever there's cause and effect, separation is there. And that is why a relationship between cause and effect is possible. But these two are not separate, no? It's like asking, did the clay cause the pot? It is not. Moreover, when you say cause, Brahman is akarta. Brahman cannot do anything, including a cause. And if you say Brahman is cause, then what is the product? Maya is product. We just discussed Maya is not a product. Cannot be the cause. You can say it is a support of Maya. Just like, did space cause the world? No, space supports the world.
Yes. And thank you. And the second question, can we say that Maya, in some part, is like timeless, but in the other hand, it also depends on time? Or we should say that Maya is the cause of time?
No, Maya is not a cause of time. Time, you can say, Maya, did you say Maya is cause of time?
Yes, like because of Maya, time exists.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, but so
Time
Maya
is only relevant only when creation is there, right?
So before the dance begins, there is no time.
No.
But Maya is still there.
Yes.
Somehow. Okay, thank you so much.
Can we say the time is Maya?
Okay, Rinku?
Om Medaji. So if we apply this example of Maya to the dancing potential that you mentioned, so the dancing potential, so Maya is just another name for this potential which is present, which is in Brahman itself, right? Is that how we have to understand? So the potential exists. So Maya, the term Maya has been given for our understanding to exist that this is Maya.
Yes,
So therefore,
is Maya.
Okay, so but the potential is in the Brahman, and the potential borrows this Chaitanyam from the Brahman to become a creation, right? So to become the dance or creation or whatever we say, is that what it is? So that is why it is present, yet it is not present, but we say that Brahman is the truth, and Maya cannot be the truth. So how is it possible that the potential is not in the Brahman?
No, the potential is supported by Brahman. See, when you use words like in Brahman, that means you have given Brahman a location. You've given where in Brahman is the next question that you can ask. A locus
Medaji,
comes
sorry,
into the
but
picture.
if you are saying that the potential borrows, that Brahman is the support of the potential, then again we are separating Brahman and the potential.
For now, we are, for understanding sake. Because like I told you, understanding only happens through division. But as you advance in the higher and higher texts, you will see that there's no separation. The understanding refines in a different way. At this stage, we say that yes, there is a potential, and even since because of limitation of language, we can say the potential is in Brahman. Out of limitation of language, we may make this statement that potential is in Brahman, and this potential is the creation, is what or results in the creation.
Okay, maybe it'll become clearer as we advance further. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, Preeti ji.
Maya is the Karna Sharira.
Preeti ji, I can't hear you. The voice is not clear.
It's like Karna Sharira, undifferentiated. Maya is also
Yes, Maya is Karana Sharira. When we are talking about Avyaktam, there's no difference between them. We treat them as, when we're talking about them, we talk about them as one and the same thing.
So it is the same thing, then, but on a macro level.
I can't hear your voice. It's not.
So on a macro level, Karna Sharira and Maya are the same then.
On the macro level.
Yes, they are the same then.
No, we're talking about Avyakta state. During Avyakta, since there can be no differentiation, then we treat them as almost the same thing, because we cannot make out the differences. The differentiation is only relevant when the Vyakta state exists. That is when the differentiation is, more available for us to perceive.
Thanks.
Okay. So we can stop here for today. It's been a heavy class. And don't worry about Maya. This is one of those things that takes time, lot of time sometimes, to settle in the mind. Okay. Shall we end with Purnamada?
Thank you.
Thank you, Medaji.
Thank you, Medaji.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.